Hello and welcome to Disc Review, the podcast that goes track by track through a different album each week.
And we're your hosts, Max and Matt. Join us as we explore some of our favorite records.
No, I'm a fan, I swear.
I feel like I've become a music normie.
I'm tired of being Mr. Positive Guy.
Dude, that's not human.
This is certifiably the most boring album I've ever heard.
And there's a reason they don't do it, because it's terrible.
We hope you enjoy the show. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Disc Review. This is a historic episode because this is the very first episode of Disc Review that we are recording in person. I got Matt sitting 3 feet in front of me for the first time instead of across the country. So what's up, dude?
Dude, I mean, I'm so glad we're able to have this work out. We happen to be in the same place, and I'm like, we gotta take this opportunity to do at least one live episode. I hope live episodes can be more common at some point, but I'm happy to give it a shot and talk about an album that we both have a lot of memories with. We're going big throwback, I think, for both of us, As It Is, their second album, OK, with a period.
Yeah, and our first episode that we ever recorded was As It Is third album, which is The Great Depression. And so it's kind of coming full circle here. We did that close to 2 years ago now?
It hasn't felt that long. It felt like we just have started this whole thing.
It's crazy.
And I'm just impressed, like, we're usually doing an album a week if we can, and I feel like we've barely gotten through any records. There's a ton I still want to do, a ton of just great stuff to talk about, so plenty more to come.
Yeah, we have about 50 episodes down, which means we've kind of averaged an episode every other week, which honestly isn't that bad. I feel like we've been taking a lot of weeks off lately, but we're trying to get back into this sync and the flow of it. So, but yeah, it's crazy that we have so many of you guys listening here. I mean, we have getting close to 200 subscribers, which, isn't that much as far as YouTube standards go, but it's cool to have all these people who want to tune into our reviews every week.
Yeah. So, okay. This album for me, it's probably a little more than okay.
Yeah,
I remember
so.
This is another album from like our high school years, so it comes from the same era. I was pretty into the single drops on this. I don't know if you were following it. I was in on that marketing where they would just like drop one song a week on like YouTube with like a lyric video or something. I'm trying to remember exactly, but it was like they were kind of drip feeding us some songs. But I was there through the whole thing, and I was pretty happy with this album. I've listened to all of it a lot. And, I mean, it's been a while since I've really dove into it, so we'll see how it holds up, how our feelings have changed.
Yeah, and you know what? When you texted me and said you wanted to review OK, it was crazy because I had just listened to that album for the first time in like years that week, and so it was like perfect timing. And a lot of it, I would say, holds up pretty good. It's a good album. It's got a unique feel to it. It's a lot like their first album, but I think the writing is just better and the recording is better. And so I wouldn't say it's my favorite As It Is album, but I might say it might have the best writing on it. Like the hooks are just so catchy in all the songs.
Yeah, I mean, As It Is started strong. They're an act that I'm pretty impressed with their first album, but I think this album is even a little more consistent the whole way through, and I've always really liked the singles on it. Have been ones I'll return to a lot, and I mean, Patty sings it well, and his lyrics are always really good. I think you can get lost in a lot of the lyrics here.
Yeah, he's a character that I've followed for a long time. I used to watch his YouTube videos back when he was a YouTuber. And he basically just did covers of popular emo songs. And he's come a long way. I don't necessarily follow his career trajectory as much anymore because their new album fell a little flat for me. Did you listen to their new album?
I don't know if I listened to all of it. I didn't love the singles, so
yeah,
it's kind of like my motivation dies a little bit if the singles aren't great to check it out. I think there was a song I liked and I added, but I think that was it. It just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't the same quality, especially after Great Depression, where I feel like the band was growing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, was it maybe due to some lineup changes behind the scenes? I know we were just talking about how I was like, they're down to 2 members. I mean, I remember it was like a 4 or 5 piece band at the time, right?
Yeah, they lost some members. Is it just 2 of them now?
Yeah, and I'm like, is the guy who's still left the other singer? Because they kind of were a 2-singer.
I don't think so. I think Patty does all the singing now.
Okay.
Yeah, and don't quote me on this, but I think they're good friends with Set It Off, the band Set It Off.
They're kind of similar.
I think the guys in Set It Off helped write a few of the songs, if not the whole new album.
Interesting.
And so, and I haven't really liked the new Set It Off stuff, so maybe that's what is kind of different there. But let's bring it back to okay. This album has a very strong. Is it like a 50s aesthetic? Is that what they're going for?
Nuclear, fear.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bomb in the bike basket, but yeah, I mean, what's the inspiration behind it? I don't really know. Does it really connect lyrically? And a lot of bands have kind of done this, like Nuclear Fear. I don't know.
It's a very played out thing, and I like it, but it's
the art itself is done well here. It's not. It's good art. It's just like, why? I don't know.
And I do remember they connected the themes with the music videos, at least, even if it's not so connected in the lyrics.
Never seen any music videos for this.
The only music video I remember is for Hey Rachel, or is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Hey Rachel, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it was really highlighting themes of like men being able to pursue their dreams while women are kind of just expected to do housework. At least that's what the music video was, which I think ties into like the 50s stuff. So yeah, it was very cool. I like the album art. I think it's even if it's not super like unique, it's good, and it's got a good aesthetic to it.
It's definitely well made.
Jumping into the track by track.
Yeah, but let's jump into these songs here. The first song is Pretty Little Distance. Was that one of the singles? It
came out early. It's not lead single.
Okay.
But it did come out early, and I did like it. I don't think it's like one of my favorites now, but I mean, it's a strong opener.
It definitely is strong. And I think the song that comes after it could have also been a good, strong opening, but this one does, just as good of a job. But yeah, not really my favorite either. I think, honestly, sometimes I skip it to some of the other singles that came out.
I mean, it's really high energy, poppy kind of feel, but I don't know. Yeah, I think there's some more interesting songs on here. I get why they'd put this one first, and I'm pretty happy with that choice.
Yeah, and it definitely covers topics that were reminiscent of their last album. Just kind of, being a depressed kid is kind of, and we see that in some of the other songs as well. But I think that they cover a wider variety of topics on this album compared to the last one.
Yeah, it's not as much just every song about being sad.
Yeah.
But this next song is about being sad, which is okay.
True.
This was the lead single. I was very impressed with this when this came out.
Yeah.
I thought it was a big step up from their last album, just on this first single alone. And I think it's got a really, really good bridge.
Yeah, and even the chorus is just so catchy, right? And it's simple, too. I don't think that I'm okay. And he just holds out that last note, and it's brilliant. I love it. It's very catchy. It's very fun, and it reminds me a lot of their older work, which is always a good thing on a new album. You want to make it new, you want to make it fresh, and you want to expand, but you don't want to go so far that you're unrecognizable. And this is definitely recognizable as it is right here.
Yeah, you want an artist to evolve, but that entails staying true to your roots and just making it better. Refining that, and then also doing a little bit of expanding, and they definitely do that on this record, which is why it's a really good second effort.
So after Okay, which is, where the album gets its name, we have Hey Rachel, and this is one of the more unique songs on the album, and it was a single, I believe, and it's kind of about sibling relationships, which is very different from what we've had before. Specifically having a younger sister who you feel like maybe you didn't treat very well during your adolescent years.
Yeah, I'm assuming Patty or whoever's writing the lyrics, I'm assuming he is, but has a sister because this motif kind of comes up on that next record.
Yeah.
Which is in a much more darker way. Anyways, but this song is really like the first example I would say where they're like doing something different lyrically. It's a different story and just a different angle. I feel like the lyrics are really good at like putting you in that position and making you feel that way and feel some of that, guilt or sadness that he's feeling. It's really effective.
Yeah. Do you think his sister is actually named Rachel?
I don't know. I doubt it. I don't know. I feel like you got to switch the name.
Yeah, that would be a pretty interesting move to drop not only family drama, but like family names.
Right? It's like you kind of, as an artist, you want to tell a story that's true to your life, but also it's like, let's not be 1-to-1 or else they're going to hear it and know it's like...
Yeah, I agree.
You kind of adapt it and modify it a little bit, but use it as inspiration, I feel like is what people do to fix that.
Yeah, and we both have little sisters, and so I think we can kind of see ourselves in this. But my little sister is 11 years younger than me, and so I honestly didn't have that much of a relationship with her growing up, other than older sibling to infant for a while. So I more picture myself with like my little brother, who's just 3 years younger than me, who often I didn't treat great. But I think once you become an adult, it's a lot easier to get along with your siblings.
Oh, definitely. Sometimes the distance and also just that maturity just really comes together. So I don't know, for anybody feeling too hard on this song, don't be too hard on yourself.
True. Then we have Patchwork Love. Was this a single as well? How many singles did they release?
I don't think it was a single. I think it's one of the songs they were dropping. I think like every day before the album they dropped a song or something like that. Okay. That's kind of what I feel like happened because I feel like I heard this one early.
Yeah.
But this is I think it's one of my favorites. It's got some really good guitar and kind of this like melancholy but also just high energy. It's just a good combination of a lot of different emotions on this.
Yeah, I love Patchwork Love. It's probably either my favorite or like my second favorite on the album. It's very self-deprecating and very much like it's about a relationship coming to a close, right? You're breaking up with this person or they're breaking up with you. Mm-hmm. But the vibe of it isn't so much like, oh, I miss you, I want you back. Like it's more like, no, I haven't been a good partner and you deserve better. And so I understand where this is coming from, and I want you to go on and you live your best life.
Yeah, those lyrics are really good.
And then we got Curtains Close, which is another one that has like a very prominent message, I feel like. And maybe you have a different view of it, but I always felt like it was a very strong song for divorce.
Yeah, that's always what I got.
Yeah, so, it's called Curtains Close, and the chorus talks about watching the curtains close on all you know, from the perspective of being a kid watching your parents go through a divorce and how like everything you've known about your life is now going to be very, very different. So, not something that I've experienced or have any experience with, but still makes me sad listening to it, talking about the scared kid sitting on the couch, which is the first line, I think, or one of the first lines. Mom and dad take their final bows. It's very, very sad.
Yeah, I think the lyrical content and choosing to tell this story, I think it elevates this song. This could have been one of the weakest tracks, just compared, the hooks and everything. But I think with the lyrics and telling the story, it's a really good part of the album that, I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's any dips here. And I feel like that can be a big reason why.
Yeah, because this song isn't as catchy as some of the other ones, not as good of a chorus, but because it tells that story, it sticks out in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're just getting through the B-sides.
Yeah, the weak part, 100%.
And then we have No Way Out, which I remember this one dropping early too. So yeah, they must have dropped
this was a single.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they probably dropped
I think
close
they dropped
to
the whole
half
album before.
Wow.
Honestly.
No Way Out is another one that really reminded me of their first album, but it takes some different twists and turns that make it fresh, a little unique. Most the thing that sticks out most to me is the bridge where he does like a talk screaming type thing, which I remember liking more when I was a kid, but now it's a little too like, it's like,
This one's a lot.
It is a lot. And is the genre hardcore? Is that what you call it when you're kind of like screaming, but there's like no melody to it?
I don't know.
It's it's an interesting style, and I don't know if I like it.
It's really long in this.
It is long.
I think they do this similar style a little bit in their next album, but it's a lot shorter and gets to the point faster. I don't know. I just think it's used a little bit better. It's a good concept, and I know this is probably like a testing ground. I feel like for this style, this was like, oh, we're going to do something really different here. So in that regard, at the time this came out, I really appreciate it. I feel like they've done it better now, more recently.
Yeah, and one thing I will say about it is you can tell that they were very emotional while writing and recording that part, because
he sells it.
Yeah, he sells it. He makes it sound like he's screaming because he's upset, and it's not just there to be there. But yeah, it paved the way for songs like Wounded World is what comes to mind on the next record, where he has a section where he does like talk screaming, but he just has like one hook that he repeats a couple times.
Yeah, and he does it on the end as well, a little bit, in the kind of like the emotional climax of the song. It's really, really emotional there and starts screaming. I think that I really liked it in those, on the next record.
Then we have Soap. I'm not exactly sure where that name
This is the most confusing
from.
track they've ever put out, in my opinion.
It's very confusing.
The name kind of comes out of nowhere. Lyrically, I don't know, if I did a deep dive, I might be able to connect some dots, but it's kind of vague. Have you ever really felt one way or another about it?
Not about the lyrics, really. Like, not that the lyrics are bad, but I just never really understood them.
Yeah, there's not like a story for me to kind of get lost in. I don't know. I just think like it does sound good. It's well written and everything. Good chorus, guitar. The lyrics I'm not connecting with as much, so that's why it's always been one of the weaker for me. I don't know. It's a weird song.
But I think instrumentally, this one kind of paved the way for their next record, because it sounds like it could be one of the songs off of the Great Depression. It's got some guitar that's very what's the word? It's very prominent in the lead guitar is very prominent in the verses, and that's just something that I don't feel like we got very much up until now. It's mainly was just like chords and stuff in the in the verses, but yeah. So I think the instrumental is cool, but I agree I didn't connect with it all that much.
But I think that's kind of proving our point we were talking about earlier. I feel like there's some other tracks on here that could have been weaker, but because it painted a really clear story, you kind of know what the song is about. I don't know, just it makes it stand out. When the lyrics are vague in this way, it's kind of forgettable. It's kind of, you're like, oh, I like the song, but I don't really, what am I going to get out of listening to it, Especially for music like this, where it's just supposed to be really emotional, and you're supposed to.
I can't even really think how the chorus of Soap goes, to be honest with you. And that's,
because I just feel like the lyrics are not, they're just not really telling anything clear.
And that's one testament to writing catchy hooks in your chorus, because like if you can't remember exactly how the chorus goes at the drop of a hat, then it might need to be reworked. You might need to rewrite it. Even if you like it and it sounds good, like if it's not super memorable, it might not be the right way to go.
Or like put lyrics in the verse around it that give that its context that it needs.
Yeah.
The chorus doesn't need to just be the one-liner hook of the song that's also the name of it. Like, it doesn't need to be that, but it needs to have context around it. And you can do that in the verse, and, that story will make sense, and it will stand out better.
Yeah, and I used to like naming songs kind of vague names that don't really have a ton to do with the lyrical content. I felt like it was more stylized and more like you can do more with it. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that memorability is like the most important thing. And if I look at the name of the song and I can't remember certain parts, it's, it hurts it a little bit. But then we have Austin, probably has the most interesting bass line out of any of the songs here. And this one kind of tells a story too, although I feel like I'm less sure about this one. It kind of sounds to me like
a grandparent dying,
some family member dying in the hospital.
That's how the picture I feel like it's been painting. I mean, it literally says "I tower over your hospital bed." I don't think we're making a stretch here.
Okay,
and all the stories my father told about them, and anyways, it is kind of a dark song. It's and if you really connect with this material, this is like probably like it's not really a common to write about this. So
yeah, I really like the line "Give me strength to see you weak," because I think a lot of times with death, even if it is your own death, it's like not about you all that much. That might be a weird thing to say, but like I feel like the people you're leaving behind are like, they're the ones who are truly affected by it. And so it's I think it's far more interesting to talk about the people who are left behind than the people who are going. But
yeah,
that's
comes
just
from
my
that
take.
Perspective of like knowing the grief is coming, and how do you deal with that anticipatory grief? How do you deal with this? It is really interesting. I like how many different subject materials they really dive into on each song. I think that's what makes each track, really stand out and is memorable.
Then we have "Until I Return," and this one is just like straight up catchy and fun.
It is. It really is. Lyrically, I don't really like. It's not telling a super like crazy story like some of these other ones. It's more of like a straight up like, kind of a classic as it is. Like, I'm not fine, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm a wreck, and just kind of like relationships and stuff. Anyways, I just think it's really really catchy, and the guitar's great, and it's a fun one to listen to, and that just makes it stand out for me.
Yeah, I think that the little story I can get from this is kind of like you're leaving home or you're leaving loved ones, and they're very worried about you because they know that you struggle with a lot of things, and you're basically saying like, you can't keep me protected all the time. I'm gonna have to leave eventually, and I can't promise that everything's gonna work out, but I can promise that I'll try my best. So it's a little bleak, but it's pretty real to life, I'd say. We just have a couple more here. The next song is "The Coast Is Where Home Is." And I think that this is a pretty strong song, but coming off of "Until I Return," it's not as good because "Until I Return" is just so catchy that I think it overshadows "The Coast Is Where Home Is" a little bit.
Yeah, it is a funny title. Maybe it's from the coast. The coast is not where home is for me, but I like the coast.
Yeah.
Kind of like using that, motif. It does kind of help, play into the story a little bit. Kind of nostalgic is kind of how I feel about this song.
Yeah.
It's like the feeling I get from it. I think it's fun in that regard. Yeah, like it might not be quite as catchy. I still really liked this one.
Yeah, I think that one downside to songs like this, it's so as it is that it melts together with a few other as it is songs for me lyrically. But I think that, you got to have songs like this on the record or else it's not as it is. That's who they are.
Yeah.
So I think it's good, but not my favorite.
Yeah, I agree.
Before we jump into the last one, I just remembered something that I wanted to bring up. Did you ever listen to Soap 2020?
I have listened to Soap 2020. It's better.
Is it? I don't remember anything about it.
It's a more modern production, not as it is with the guitars and stuff.
Oh.
It's kind of
yeah, it kind of reminds me of a project where it's like, COVID is just starting and they're like, well, we might not be able to. Yeah, we're kind of bored, and we might not be able to go to the studio right now because that would require us getting all together and being in a confined space. But what if we just like remix one of our old songs and see what happens? It
comes off that way. It was pretty fresh off, lockdown, so that's probably how it ended up coming to be.
Is interesting though. I like when bands use their old material in new and fresh ways.
Yep.
Obviously, no one wants them to recycle stuff. Like that's not what you want a band to do. But if you're just dropping little things here and there of like, hey, remember this thing we used to do what if we did it different or like this or better? And I like that a lot.
Yeah, but we've been champions of their ability to reimagine their songs, like with Great Depression. So it was kind of fun. This felt similar to that. I kind of thought they would do this a little more because they dropped this, they dropped the reimagined. Anyways, I just think they are capable of some really fun different styles. So I would personally love to see more of that from them.
Well, their new record definitely has different styles. Some good, some really bad. But I guess we'll have to talk about that another day. The last song on this record, the closer, is Still Remembering. And honestly, it's got to be one of my favorites on the album.
It's one of their best.
Maybe
entirely.
It's maybe one of the best songs they've ever done, I think, because it's so very simple, very sad, and it just closes it out so good. It captures all the feelings you felt, but like kind of brings it to a lower level and gives it to you straight. I think a lot of the lyrics on this one are just so good. Let me see if I can pull up, because one of them is, I curse these spaces between my fingers where for a time you belonged. That's beautiful. I love that. So it's got a lot of lines like that where they're just done really well.
Yeah, this is a big standout for the band entirely. I think having a really good acoustic, emotional track to draw from is really good as a band. I love when they do something like this. We don't only want their electric guitars blaring. Like, it's really nice to have a really good acoustic track, and you can pack a lot of emotion into a track like this. So I was floored the first time I heard it. This is, I'd say, the best song to put on if you're looking for some feels.
Yeah, I agree. This one, and honestly, their closer on their first record, which we haven't covered their first record, but we will sometime soon. I really like the closer on that one as well.
Yes, they're really good at sad closers.
They're great at it. Yeah.
Just talking.
So that is As It Is album Okay. And like we said before, it is definitely better than okay. It's really good. It's great pop punk. It's a very good era of As It Is, one of their better eras. And I hope that they'll put out more records like this one day.
Yeah, this came out in the golden era of pop punk for me.
Yeah.
I mean, at least when I was into the scene and really liked a lot of the artists putting stuff out, this was one of my favorite records from that time. So I still think it holds up well. As It Is has gone on to do more stuff that I think is even better than this, but this was a really great second album, and I was really impressed with it when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
So it really got me into the band entirely. I was kind of on the edge, but this was definitely solidified that for me.
How did we find this band? Did you show me or did I show you?
I thought you showed me. I remember you coming over, and then we went to like Best Buy, and you're like, I need to buy an album. And
oh, yeah. That was back when we had cars that could play CDs. And
I know. I'm just thinking, like, look, why was it so urgent? We had to go. You're out of town. You have to go pick up the As It Is CD.
Yeah. I think it was probably just because we couldn't play Spotify on our cars.
You just wanted something to listen to?
Yeah, and we wanted something fun to listen to. And, when you're a kid, if you have $20, the only thing you can spend it on is something fun for yourself. So, and then that really shot us down a few years of loving As It Is and following their stuff. And, I've mentioned this a lot, so I won't talk about it too much more, but, hopefully their new stuff gets better, because I didn't like their newest album.
Kind of a bummer.
Yeah, maybe after this we'll have to listen to a couple of their singles, because they were so bad that it was like I had to turn it off. It wasn't even sustainable. And some of the songs are good on the newest record, but the majority of them are just really, really bad.
Yeah, I don't know. As It Is may not be in the best place right now, but we still got some great memories from them.
For sure.
For the best.
All right, man. It was good talking with you face to face for the first time in years.
Yeah, expect more disc review content back on our weekly schedule, and hoping to put out some nostalgia tour as well. I don't know. I had a ton of fun in making that, so we're going to give that another shot.
All right. Thank you for listening to Disc Review, and we will come at you with another review shortly. See ya shortly. See ya.